Yeah. The United States that granted the Philippines independence on July 4th of 1946? Yeah. They adopted a constitution that was similar to that of the United States? Yeah. Now, I would think that when the United States decided that they would grant independence, yes, that the United States has some liability for the knowledge of the rebellion, yes, against the actual enforcement of the Constitution of the United States, yes. Now, we're going to look at a copy of that Philippine Constitution because it looks to me right now that there is a certain amount of liability to any nation where the United States said, well, we always support and defend the Constitution of the United States, but as I've documented, you don't. Well, I'm telling you, when you use fraudulent mental health evaluations, yes, this evaluator who is a professional person, and you allege that I was charged with misdemeanor crimes of violating a protection order, yes, it's a serious offense, isn't it? And it's as if all of those that have the obligation to enforce child abuse laws, yes, would allow for the exploitation of an adopted daughter from Haiti, yes, and then they'd allow for my sons to be exploited because they're in the wrong grades. Now, if I went through all the professional individuals, that is their legal and professional obligation, they are legally liable for any knowledge of the false arrest, yes, the false imprisonment, the fraudulent mental health evaluations, because you would not exonerate me of any wrongdoing in Sequim, Washington on December 31st of 2015. Now, when you rebel and you're an insurrectionist against the actual defending of the Constitution of the United States, you seem to have forgotten I was arraigned on January 5th of 2016. Yes. And when that arraignment happened, you gave me a child support order for $81,000. And then instead of protecting my right to a speedy trial, right, instead of doing discovery where you would have discovered I wasn't in Sequim, Washington because I was sleeping at a homeless shelter, I was on the bus that morning. Yes, I was in this library on December 31st of 2015. There was lots of video surveillance camera footage, yes, that would have proved that I wasn't there. But you decided to not do that. Instead, you wanted me to have a mental health evaluation. Yes. And you arrested me for a failure to appear. Yes. When I responded, how should a citizen respond? Excuse me. Yes. Now, I wasn't evading going to court. Yes. I just wanted to have the notice from the state of jurisdiction. Well, the public defender's office didn't have that notice because you had the court hearing within 2 days and they didn't get a copy of it in the mail, and Mike Van Proyn got a copy of it. Yes. And everything that I had was sent to Mike Van Proyn's address. Yes. The same husband of the same woman where they agreed to adopt a daughter from Haiti. Proud. Now, this conspiracy of rebellion and insurrection against the actual laws of the United States, yes, the enforcement of the Constitution of the United States, where you said, well, we can issue a dissolution of marriage without giving me an actual copy of it. Yes, it could be that you can't, because when you do that kind of a thing, yes, it causes the state of Washington to cause an actual federal public debt, yes, where you're going to take all my tax refunds, yes, and any overpayment of Social Security, yes, any overpayment of any government department or agency. Now, I gave you the actual laws about the collecting of the debt issued from any state of the United States, yes, where there is the requirement that it be lawfully issued because you do protect the rights of citizens. But you didn't. And then you dismiss this case, right? Because you say I'm incompetent, yes, for knowing I wasn't in Brennan, yes. And those 2 million emails, they were not cyber stalking, yes. Were they? I was informing you that my civil rights are being violated. Poop. And then you said you could use forgeries. Right. And there was no obligation for the petitioner to appear in court. Yes. And she didn't have to sign your court orders. Yes. And you didn't have to protect my rights. See, you can just allege that somebody commits a crime. Yes. Knowing I wasn't there at 7:47 a.m. Ooch. Knowing I wasn't there at 4:48 p.m. Poop. Knowing that you had everything necessary to exonerate me. Now, this state, yes, and every state of the United States has become very much involved in the issuing of debt against American citizens, where it's the obligation of the federal government to it's the obligation of the federal government to collect that debt. Now, I talked to you about the judicial branch, right? The legislative branch, yes, and the executive branch, pooch. Now I'm talking to you about the Department of the United States Treasury. Now, when a state, yes, known as the state of Washington, yes, decides that you can put Superior there, you can take these five minors named, yes, you don't have to give the respondent actual notice of court hearings, yes. It happens to violate the PKPA, happens to violate the VAWA. Yes, but we're arguing about what the fucking law says right now. Ooh. Now, I would say that you've intentionally violated the laws of the United States. You've refused to support and defend the Constitution of this great nation, and for every nation that has knowledge of it right now.